Hi everybody and welcome. It's Janet from SugarShine Designs and I'm here today to show you 10 cards made with one kit, and it features the Hero Arts October 2018 card kit. This episode is part 1 and I will show 5 cards made with this kit, and I'll do another part 2 to show the next 5. To begin with though, let's take a look at what comes in the kit this month. As usual, there are 2 packages. If we open up the accessory package, we have actually a very generous 6-pack of 5.5 by 8.5 sheets of glitter cardstock, and it's the kind of cardstock that doesn't shed, so that's very nice. And then they've also included some iridescent stars. I'm not sure the quantity of these. I'm going to say 15 to 20, and they are really clear with an iridescent finish, so they pick up pretty much whatever color you put them on. And then they've added this very interesting bottle of iridescent ink, and it is basically a white or silver ink, and it will probably come separated, but if you shake it up it becomes this cloudy, beautiful silvery ink. Now here is the stamp and die set, and it comes wrapped with this blue ribbon. And let's take a first look at the dies that come with. There's a number of dies. Most of the stamped images do have dies to go with them, but not all. However, all the main images do have the dies, and we also have the fir tree there, which we'll take a look at in a little more detail soon. Now this is the cardstock that separates the two, and I try to use this in a card. We'll see what happens. And now let's look at the actual stamp set. And you can see that this has lots of holiday and wintry images. We've got the tree, a bench, we've got several sentiments like Merry Christmas, but also we have animals, both in the raccoon and the dogs and cats that are reaching up. And so one of the neat features is that it's got a skating pond, and then they've got skaters to go on it. It's really cool. Alright, so this is the star of the die set. It is a fir tree, and it cuts some of the branches out so that they can become 3D. And we'll see more about that in a few minutes. But once again, here are all the items in the card kit this month. A great selection. Alright, so we're going to start with card number 1, and I'm going to emboss the sentiment called Happy Tidings. And I'm going to use this in gold embossing powder. So we'll heat this up and make it shiny and pretty. And once that's done, I can continue to stamp. Now this card is going to be almost entirely stamped images. And that is one thing with a kit like this, is that you can create a lot of different scenes. And I'm going to try to keep it simple and easy so we don't have to do a ton of masking on all of that, but there will be some in a few of my cards. This one, however, requires no masking, and so after I've done this Happy Tidings sentiment, I'm taking my black gel pen and I'm just drawing some strings. What I'm creating is the illusion of a banner of these words hanging some beautiful silver ornaments. Now I'm using Versamark just to stamp in the stamp with the ornament that has nothing in the inside, no design or any kind of filler, because I'm going to use my markers to color those ornaments. So there you can see. Now I'm using silver this time instead of gold, so I've got a bit of a mix going on, which I think is always kind of fun to do once in a while. And so these ornaments will be beautiful silver, and a nice contrast with the gold. Now after I stamped them, I had to extend the black lines a little bit more, but it really wasn't too bad, and of course you can't tell that I needed to do that since it's just gel pen. Now the next thing I'm stamping in is this really cute doe as well as 2 of the birds, and I'm using my Spectrum Noir markers here to color these images in. So I'm using a darker brown and a lighter brown to color in the fawn. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to take my white gel pen and I'm going to cover the spots and also the horns. So This image is really a nice one with the deer. I do enjoy the nature stamps and images that sometimes come with the holiday collections. And this is a good example because not only do we have deer, but we also have, you know, some birds. We have some animals like a raccoon that's got himself all tangled up in lights. And that's really a fun group of images to work with. So, you know, you can use this for winter as well as for Christmas or holiday. And that always makes a set like this very versatile. Now my two birds are going to be just kind of a light blue and a light gray. They're kind of a bluish gray mixed together. And I really love these birds. I love all birds, it seems. I notice that I gravitate towards the birds a lot when I get my little stamp sets from Hero Arts because they tend to put birds in them, I've found. And I always enjoy them. So I definitely, of course, it's one of the first things I pulled out is my trusty birds. Now the next thing I'm doing is I'm using my markers again to color in these ornaments like I mentioned earlier. And I'm sticking with some basic colors here with a nice purple, red, a teal blue, and a traditional navy blue. Now the next thing you'll see me doing here is mixing my iridescent ink, which is a watercolor ink, and I don't think I mentioned that before, but it is an iridescent watercolor. I just mix that with a little bit of water and I'm applying it in the area where the deer is standing. So I want to create kind of the illusion of some snow there, but I'm not going to use paper or anything to do that. And to enhance that look more, I'm going to use Nouveau glitter drops in Silver Moon Dust just to create kind of the illusion of some drifts. And also later off camera, I'm going to put a little bit more in the hooves area to make it look like the snow is puddling up. And now if you look at the paw area, you can see that where I put a little bit more snow as if it's stepping into a drift. Now I'm using some Dewdrop in Platinum Planet, and I'm using a couple of the stamps. There are two stamps that have snowflakes in them, so I'm going to use that and stamp here and there in the background to get that shimmery snowflake look. And again, this is the Platinum Planet ink. It's called Brilliance, and it's from Dewdrop. So that was just something I have in my stash. And I think this really adds the finishing touches to that panel because it then appears like there is snow, and it helps the sentiment, I think, from looking like it's completely floating out there in the middle of nowhere. But I like the finished look of that. Now I wanted to use a bright background for this card to set it off because there is so much white. And so to play off the purples and the blues, I decided that I'm going to put this on a blue card base. And this is A2, by the way. And in between the card base and my panel, I just used some blue fun foam and attached that. And that finishes card 1. I think it's quite peaceful and pretty. All right, let's move on to card 2. Now, card 2 is going to be also a nature scene. There's still going to be no people in this scene. I'm starting off by coloring a few images. The first one is this bench. And I'm probably one of the few people out there, but I do use Spectrum Noir markers instead of Copic colors. So for those of you who are out there using your Spectrum Noir, I hope that you enjoy seeing how I use them. But I am using the lightest browns to the left because I'm going to use a light post, and the light, of course, will lighten up the bench because it's closest to that side. So that's why I've colored it in this way. It may seem a little odd right now, but hopefully it makes more sense when you see it on the card in a minute or two here. And here I go again with my birds colored the same way, ice gray and blue, a little bit of orange on the beak. And then I'm also going to use that orange from the beak, the same orange on my lamppost, and that'll be the center of the flame, and then yellow surrounding it and a little bit around the edges of the lines. Now I'm going to start creating the background and the main focal point. Now this is the fir tree die, and when you cut it out, you're going to get these various branches that are partly cut but not detached. So the purpose here is so that you can lift them up, fold them up, and create some dimension. Now the problem I have with this in my mind is that it looks great when you do this and you get all done with it, but then you put it on a card and you put it in an envelope and it all gets pushed flat. And so to avoid that, what I've done here is created a window, and I put the card window up on some foam tape, and now I'm going to put the fir tree inside of that. So there's actually a little bit of space so that when you put it in an envelope or whatever, you won't immediately push down the branches. And I'm hoping that that will help it have a better look when it arrives to my recipient. Now it's time to put in the bench. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that. And now here's my lamp post. Very simple, you know, again, just colored and cut it out. Really, I cut it out first, as you saw, and then colored it. And you don't need to put any glue on the place that's going into the frame, or, you know, because of course it's just hanging there freely. And then I put a little bit, just a tiny square of foam on the back of the actual light on the lamppost so that it has some support and doesn't just collapse. Now here's my title. I made a flag here and used the Winter Wishes stamp, and I was just trying to figure out where to put it. And then I decided I didn't like the flag. It was just too much. So I cut that part off, and then I went ahead and applied the sentiment up there in the corner. To make my lamp light just a little bit more shimmery, I used my Wink of Stella in clear there. And then I'm going to use Nuvo drops in Moonstone, and I'm going to apply that to the branches of the tree. Now I'm going to push these up again a little bit more because they've already collapsed a little bit just from, you know, gravity. And I want them to be pretty dimensional, or as dimensional as I can maintain them to be. Now the Nuvo drops, I'm just going to apply on the edges of the branches just to kind of give it a little bit of shimmer and appear almost as if there's some snow. So this is what makes this die so neat, is because it does have these branches that pop up. It just takes a little bit of finagling to get them to stay popped up and not, you know, collapse on you right away. So don't feel like you need to be gentle with them. I found that I bent them pretty hard in order to make them stay, but I kind of had to learn that because when I just tried to push them up, it didn't really work. Now I'm going to add my two birds, one that looks like it may be about ready to land on the ground, and one that looks like it could possibly be landing on the tree. And this will complete my panel. Now I'm going to put this on a silver A2 size card base. I apply art glitter glue to the back of this panel so that I can kind of have some wiggle room just to make sure that my border in the silver is about centered. And this then completes my card. I really am pleased with how this looks. The shimmer is pretty. It all turned out nice. And here it is, a little bit closer up. All right, we're already on to card 3. So I've taken some dark blue watercolor and added quite a few drops of the iridescent watercolor ink to it. And then I'm going to apply it onto some watercolor stock by wetting it down first with just plain water so that it moves. And then I applied the watercolor and just kind of streaky random. Now I didn't like how dark this was, so I watered it down again, and then I sopped up a bunch of the color with a extra coffee filter that I had, which I use for crafting all the time. And then I lightened it with some more water. And then I decided to try these drops. And I was amazed to see the reaction that the watercolor had from the watercolor drops. And again, this looks a little bit messy and ugly, but it turns out really nice. Now this is a blueberry spray. It's an iridescent blueberry spray that came in a card kit some months back, back in 2017 actually. And I still pull it out and use it once in a while because it's kind of neat. So here is the finished panel after it dried, and it really turned out quite nice. I was pleased with it. Now I'm using VersaFine in the Onyx Black, really one of my favorite black inks for sentiments. And now I'm going to apply the images. I've got the pond here as well as the girl, and I've got both of these on foam tape, and these are the focal point of the card. Now I'm going to put some fun foam between the card base, which is in this dark blue, and the watercolor panel just to give it a little bit of lift. Also off camera, I added some snowflake and white sequins just to finish that off. And that's a beautiful finish to card 3. To start card 4, I'm going to use some of the silver glitter cardstock that came in the kit, and I'm going to put that onto a white card base. Prior to this, I had cut out a smaller panel in white, and I used a Doris embossing panel called Crackle, and that gives it this kind of icy looking finish. And then I also used an oval die just to cut that peekaboo window into it. And I cut that so that the edge went off the panel a little bit. Now here is my focal point, and it's the cute little sledder, and I'm just going to apply that as if he's going down a hill. And then I used one of the sentiments on a red speech bubble here that says Winter Wishes. Now to finish this card off, I'm going to use 3 of those iridescent stars. I'm just going to place them randomly onto the speech bubble. And here you can see that, those 3 little iridescent stars. And this finishes off card number 4. It's very simple, but very cute. So the first thing I did with card 5 is I made a mask of the tree stamp. And I'll admit it was a little bit of time-consuming work to do it, but now I'll have this mask for future use. And I make my masks, just so you know, if you haven't watched me before, I make my masks using just light paper, and then I use Zig 2A glue on the back of them, let them dry. And when you do that, it creates kind of like a sticker, a reusable sticker. And then what I'll do is I'll put my mask on wax paper when I'm done, and I'll put that with the stamp set, and it'll be ready to go for the next time I need it. Now once I cut out the mask, I applied it, and then I'm using 2 oxide inks in yellow. There's the fossilized amber and the squeezed lemonade, and what I'm attempting to do is create kind of a darker halo around the edges of the tree with the fossilized amber, and then gradually fading out using the squeezed lemonade. Now once that's done, I'm going to use some of that iridescent watercolor again, and this time I'm not going to dilute it with water. I'm applying it directly on my brush, and with strokes just going horizontally, stroking that color on. And so what I'm trying to do is not create a even distribution of the iridescence. I'm trying to create noticeable streaks, which to me kind of represents, say, breeze or movement. So that's what I'm intending to do with this. And it did work quite well, just putting it right on my brush, and that way I didn't have to waste any either. So I'm skipping ahead a few steps here. I took the mask off and then stamped the star for the top, applied the mask, and then finally apply the stamp for the tree. Now I should have done that first before I put the yellow background on, but I didn't. But it's okay. I was able to recover all right from this. So what you're going to see pretty soon is that I actually, after I stamped this, colored it in with just 2 colors of green using my Spectrum Noir markers and brown for the trunk. And there you go. All right, that's the finished piece, and I think it looks very good. You could never tell that I did the stamping after the fact, which is what I was going for. Okay, now I'm going to put some snow on this tree, and I'm going to use the foaming embossing powder and the clear lacquer pen that came with the Hero kit for, I believe it was August. And originally this was to be used to create foam on the coffee stamps, but it also creates wonderful dimensional snow. So I'm going to do that technique on this tree. So once I got all of the trees lacquered as far as I could tell, I applied the embossing powder, and then that showed me I had a few gaps to cover. There's one down here, and there's also one at the top area, and it took me a few tries before I finally got it as covered as I wanted to. So there's one little area there left, and I was going to reapply here because I guess it kind of dried before I applied the powder. And so now it's ready for me to emboss, and I'm showing this process because this is tricky. With this embossing powder, you have to heat it up well, but if it starts bubbling a lot, you know you've overheated it. So just kind of be careful about that. You want it to puff, but you don't want it to, boil basically, because if it does boil, it discolors and it just doesn't look good. So now I'm going to apply this panel right on the top of a rectangle of gold foil, but I had cut out the center to save the gold foil because nobody's going to see that, and I just can't waste it that way. So I did cut that out and set it aside for another use eventually. And I've got a card base here in gold, and I applied the blue glitter paper on top of that. And now I applied a piece of foam underneath the panel with the tree, and I'm going to put that on top of the glitter paper. So this has a pretty dimensional, nice look to it. I used one of the dimensional stars to place on top of the stamp star, and then on top of that I've put the Let It Snow sentiment, and I used the die cut here from the March 2018 Hero Arts Kit and put it on some double-sided tape, and that finishes off the last card of this series. Well, I'll be back soon with the second set of 5 cards. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Also hit that bell so that you'll get a notice when I publish the next set. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you soon, but until then, keep crafting. Bye.